Hello and welcome to Daily Politics on Trust TV. On this program, we discuss issues around politics, policy, and governance. I am Shafiu Suleiman. Some say that Nigeria's current president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, despite having the highest number of ministers serving in his cabinet in recent times, should be lauded for his deliberate inclusion of women and youths. Others, however, have voiced concerns over the qualification of some of the appointments made by the president to head the ministries, departments, and agencies in delivering his renewed hope agenda. On the program this evening, we focus on some appointments made by the president which have generated backlash, expectations of Nigerians from some of the appointees, inclusion of women and young Nigerians in forming the federal government, and how all of this will lead to the delivery of good governance to Nigerians. I am joined in the studio this evening by Patience Kwache. She is the president of Progressive Women Forum, and she's been actively lending her voice in support of participation of young women in politics and governance. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
We also to have Chima Christian, who is a good governance advocate, join us shortly on these very important conversations. Once again, thank you for coming.
Thank you for the honor of having me.
Right. Okay, let's go straight into our discussion now, looking at, the appointments of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Yes.
And of course how that to many Nigerians became inclusive, especially of women and youths in Nigeria. Going by the list, some say it's quite unprecedented looking at those involved, especially women. I think at the last count, we're talking about almost 9 women?
9, exactly.
9 appointed into the administration.
Yes.
So what does this mean, to women empowerment, women development, and women inclusion in governance?
Thank you very much for having me. I would like to clarify first. My name is Honorable Patience Kwache, and I am the acting president of the Progressive Young Women Forum in Nigeria.
We've already confirmed you by saying president. Anyway, you get there.
Thank you.
Yes.
First of all, I just jotted one or two that I would like to start with, which says the role of the youths in nation building is to provide fresh perspectives and energy to drive economic development and social progress.
That's right.
As the future leaders of the country, they have the responsibility to contribute to making society better for everyone. Now, on that note, I would love to first of all thank Mr. President for giving the women of this country a voice, and for giving the youths of this country an opportunity to show him that, yes, we are the future leaders of tomorrow, and it starts from now if given the opportunity. Yeah. Yes, you clearly quoted it well. The President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has given the ministerial seats to 9 women, and among which we have one that is most striking, which is the Honorable Minister of Youth Development.
Your predecessor.
My predecessor. Honorable Jamila Bio Ibrahim. Anywhere I go to, I love to talk about her because, come on, this is the first time we're having a female Honorable Minister of Youth Development in Nigeria. It shows that Mr. President understands that the youths of this country are very, very resourceful. Not just the youth, but the women have a lot to bring on the table, policies making, decision making, and all of that. And it has changed a lot of narrative. I can remember when during the campaigns, when we're going on for campaigns, a lot of people thought nothing good will come out of this administration. But today,
in terms of appointment,
now take it back to the last administration. Compare it with this administration. You will agree with me that the youth of this country now have a voice.
Okay, you have a voice. You have the energy. You talked about vision and ideas.
Yes.
How do we translate this opportunity into into creating space or enabling environment for youths to actively engage in governance and in other key sectors of the economy? Productivity, becoming productive and skillful. How do we rechannel this energy that we have and the opportunities available? That is, those at the helm of affairs now. You have the voice, you have the representatives. What blueprint do you have to change the narrative? Now,
every honorable minister, for you to have an effective run of government, all organs of government need to work together, which means you have the executive arm of government working, you have the legislative arm of government working, and you have the judiciary arm of government working. Now, ministers have just been appointed, right? And portfolios were, designated to every minister. And as such, we hope that very soon, every agency in this country is going to start working. Now, I'm sure for every minister...
You mean they haven't started working after 100 days?
No. Some head of agencies have been appointed, but quite a number haven't yet been appointed, right? So some of them still haven't come on board with one or two of their blueprints. But I'd love to tell you that I know for a fact that all of these ministers heading this ministries came on board with one or two blueprints.
That is inclusive of, if you like, or in line with the renewed hope agenda.
With the renewed hope agenda. Mr. President has said A, B, and C is my area of concentration. And every minister is working in line with the renewed hope agenda, right? It is one thing for you to have the ministers have their blueprints, right? Implement them for effective results. It's another thing for us as citizens to do our part.
Okay. Before we talk to talk about the part, played by the citizens, you are a woman, one. Two, you are a youth, and you happen to have the opportunity, now that you are in position of leadership, perhaps aspiring also to even be at the inner cycle of leadership, talking about, the critical leadership component.
Yes.
Now, over time, the challenges faced by youths, especially, women in particular. Today, a number of them are either out of school. That is, if you look at this part of the country, for instance, for one reason or the other, the parents have no capacity or have no financial muscle to take them to school. A number of them are in the street hawking. A number of them engage in social ills. You know that. Okay, this is one aspect. A number of women are also suffering. Those that have lost perhaps their breadwinners, talking about widows and the rest of them.
Yes.
How do you think you can key in, or what suggestions or what modalities of engagement do you have to key into those priority areas of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu? For instance, he's talking about poverty eradication.
Yes.
How do you get to benefit from this?
Now, about the poverty, I know that ever since the Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, who is Dr. Betta Edu, the former national women
one of the
leader,
youth beneficiaries too.
Of the APC, when she came on board, she made it clear that she is interested in the social welfare register. And she wants to know who, not just her, the government wants to know who exactly are the beneficiaries of this social welfare programs, right?
They've embarked on cleaning the register.
On cleaning the register. Cleaning, of course, we have to clean the registers because we don't want to have ghost, beneficiaries who we don't know. And she said something that she wants to know those people and where they are. It starts from there. Platforms like the Progressive Young Women Forum, who I am privileged to be the acting national president. Also, we just concluded our first ever, grant distribution, which is called the Fireside Chat we did. Now, what we did was, We encourage the women to bring out their proposals. I believe in teaching me how to catch the fish. Don't give me the fish all the time, so I don't need to come back to you all the time. Give me an environment, an enable environment. Give me opportunities to make those resources for my sustainability. And that applies to the Nigerian woman. So I feel and I think when you have, you know, modalities put in place, like for example the fireside chat that I said we had, and we were able to empower women under the Progressive Young Women Forum Academy.
How does, because how does that key into the current initiative? Because the government has already flagged up the distribution of the conditional cash transfer, for instance, that is targeting 15 million homes or so.
Yes.
Talking about 75,000
naira
so,
for each person.
Yeah, and you're talking about something fundamental, the need to teach someone how to catch the fish and not to give him the fish.
Not to give him the fish all the time.
Yes. Okay, but in this case, households are given 75,000 naira for a period of 3 months.
Yes.
Do you think this is the right approach to it? Because giving them money perhaps may not be sustainable. You have a program. How do you think that program can key into this so that there will be, you know, a multiplier effect or a long-term benefit for this?
Well, like I said, we gave in grants, not for the beneficiaries to go and spend, but for you to go and establish that small-scale business that will bring in turnover in the house, you know, and for your sustainability. Now, let's go down to our Arewa. We have our Arewa women that come out to fry their akara in the evening. We have our Arewa woman that sells that kuli, that's kuli karago on the road. And you know that is the groundnut baker. And that is a business she has that every day selling generates in more income. So giving them money to spend, I don't buy that idea. I don't belong to that class, that school of thought. But why don't we make that 75,000 naira, maybe for a period of 2-3 months, be it like a grant? Where you can have more sustainable income.
And you can even bring them together, for instance, get them the machines that they will use perhaps to extract the oil from and all of that. Bring them in form of cooperatives, you know.
Now, you bringing up the cooperative. I'm sorry, we're not supposed, we're not doing this for the Progressive Young Women Forum, but I need to join, I need to put in something there. Right. Now, let me tell you something about the Progressive Young Women Forum and the things, you know, that we have under this cooperative. First of all, the Progressive Young Women Forum was established in 2020 under the leadership of the then National Women Rep, Honorable Stella Okotete, who is presently an executive director in Nexim Bank in charge of business development. Now, when she came on board, she came up with this vision because she saw the need for women visibility, inclusivity, advocacy, networking in politics, governance, and, you know, economical growth. Under the Progressive Young Women Forum, we have the Progressive Young Women Lobby Group. We have the Progressive Young Women Academy. We have the Progressive Young Women Forum Trust Fund. Take it back to the lobby group. What is the lobby group for? You lobby for women inclusion in politics. What is the academy for?
Like what you're having already. You've gotten a ministerial slot. Now you have a Minister of Youth.
Thank you.
You know, what happens to come from your organization.
And we thank Mr. President for that.
But the bottom line is this.
No, I was talking about the academy.
You know, I understand. You know, we have understand what you...
No, you don't understand.
You laid the foundation.
You don't understand what the academy is saying.
What the Progressive Forum is doing.
And the academy, sorry.
Yes. What I'm trying to say here is, well, before you are doing this outside government.
Yes,
now you have
it's a cooperative.
Now you have a minister who happens to be the immediate past president of this Progressive Forum. And again, you have another minister who is heading the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. And these are very central ministries.
They have to do with
in terms of addressing this issue of poverty. How do you have the mix, the synergy, you know, to be able to deliver the deliverables? Because what the bottom line is, the chunk of people that are under the poverty bracket are within these vulnerable groups.
Yes.
Women, youths. How would you utilize this opportunity, this mix, with all of these key appointments to reduce the poverty rate in this country? Because that is what is fundamental.
We intend to use, first is the connection. We thank God that we have the connection with the Minister of Youth Development, and we also have the connection with the Minister of Humanitarian, and these are both young women who are passionate about poverty eradication and also youths, you know, more inclusion, you know, in participating and providing their own quota to the Renewed Hope agenda. Now, for the Honorable Minister of Youth, I heard her from her mouth said, the youths have now a representative that will always champion for their inclusion. Inclusion doesn't just mean that they need to give you a seat in the Federal Executive Council. You also, my brother, as a youth, and I am a youth, all we need is a listening ear. They know there's a problem.
That is the definition of youth in Nigeria.
They have. We need a listening
There's a
ear.
number.
There's a number.
You know,
and what we intend to do with these connections is bring out proposals. No man is an island. The Honorable Minister, Dr. Jamila Bio Ibrahim, cannot do it alone. She needs people like you and me. Go out there, source out the problems, which we already know what is a problem affecting our youth. Bring it to her table, push it to Mr. President, and this is the voices of the youths. Right. The same thing with the Minister, Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs. Today, I just sent in a letter for a courtesy visit. And one of the things that we decided, or we agreed that we're going to have a discuss with her is, based on the review and the response we had in the last fireside chat we did, and how we were able to meet directly to those two people who are desperately in need of help, we intend to bring out all the datas, the locations.
Yeah, which is key.
Which is key. First, you need to have the data. You need to know where they are. Right. You can't just sit down in Abuja and depend on, okay, I have a contact person in this place and tells me that this place is in need of this. If you check what happened with the Empower, you know, stuff in the last administration, those people that were beneficiaries of it were not actually those people from the rural areas that need them.
Okay, we have to take a break here to bring in Chima, who I understand is already making his way to the studio. In case you're just joining us, the program is Daily Politics. We'll be back shortly. Stay with us.
There's a problem in Nigeria. Rising unemployment is leading to crime, death, and homelessness.
I graduated since 2020. There's no work. There's nothing.
With no jobs, no money, and no food, many young people are frustrated.
There are many young youths out there looking for what to do. But when you come to Nigeria, you will see old people doing the work that young people should do.
My own local government is safe. We don't have anybody in this community that is working there.
Lost and forgotten in slums, the echoes of their worries haunt the seat of power. Where is their government?
This village is like we are inside the city, and our boys are running up and down, no work.
What is the truth behind Nigeria's unemployment statistic? Beyond the affluence of Abuja's wealthy 1% lies the grief of the 99% struggling to earn a living.
Sounds like you are disappointed with the current lot.
We are outside, me and you, regardless. We could have done better.
That you don't have to sacrifice your conviction. We cannot settle for what is bad.
I sacked a governor because of misappropriating 300,000 naira.
The clamor by the NCSC was a unitary form of government. This doesn't go well with Savannah. So when we said we wanted self-government for Nigerian entities, so look, count me out.
What you call goal, aims and directives. But the issue of joining politics simply because you want to be given job or to be given contract.
Removing the assumptions, the foundations of their fears, and at the end of it, each and every one of them seems he surprised.
I was posted to Guachuku. My job was to go from community to community, educating the people how to improve themselves, government will come to help you.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Daily Politics on Trust TV. Do well to follow us across all our social platforms and watch us live on YouTube. Now, we're still discussing the appointment of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, especially with regards to inclusion of women and youths and how that will, deliver the expected good governance to Nigerians. And just before the break, Patience was giving us, the mix, trying to discuss the mix in terms of the opportunities so far given to women that are very central to addressing some of the major concerns of Nigerians. Poverty alleviation, for instance. And we now took a break to bring in Chima Cushion, a good governance advocate who joined us. Chima, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so very much for having me.
Yes, you come at a point, Patience was talking about how they can channel their energy, their passion, their vision, and all of that, to change the narrative. Let me get your perspective first on this current administration. Unprecedented number of youths, women that have been engaged by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. One of the key points of his development agenda, inclusiveness.
Yes.
How do you think, or what do you make up with the mix so far, and how do you think it can change the narrative?
So when you're looking at appointments, there are two key things you look at. Number one is what you call that inclusivity, or what you call identity-based politics, which is important. For instance, if women look at the list and they don't see fellow women, then there's a problem. If young people look at the list and they don't see fellow young people, then there's a problem. So you have that identity side of the equation on one side, but you also have the substantial part of it on the other side. The identity I've described, the substantial part is this, that there are young people on the team. How does it equate or translate? For instance, Nigeria has a youthful population. And then regardless of what you do, you can't even take 0.002% into the government, right? And then if you have tokenistic appointment for a few, how does that translate to the governance deliverables for the rest? So when you come to that side of the equation, you will see that there are still a lot that is left undone. But on a general scale, you also want to give it to them that this is the government that has brought in young people into office.
Is it about the people appointed into government, or is it about the parameters to deliver, or the policy, the framework? Where are we not getting it right?
Well, the thing is this, for me, I've never really been so keen on identity-based politicking because it could get so bad so quickly when you move into identity, right? And so, but a lot of young people don't even understand that age-based discrimination is also part of the identity, because if you're going to discriminate someone on the basis of religion, ethnicity, you can also do that on the basis of age. And then you say, oh no, you're not qualified, or you're overqualified, or all of those things. So that's why I usually want to keep those things aside and focus on what is this person bringing to the table. If you're appointed for this role, what is your expected deliverable, and how has your previous experiences, expertise, vision going to be sure that you are the right fit for that role? And so if you look at that, and then you begin to consider that, then that's a whole lot of discussion you need to have on its own. But again, for mere tokenism, you can say that young people may now feel like, hey, I can see fellow young people, maybe they can have their ripped jeans and all of those things. And then you feel that they're part of you. But then when you go home, and then if you're running a business like myself, and then you look at all the variables, trying to, combine the factors of production to make a good, then when it begins to happen, then you see that even if there are all the young people there, that they don't, affect your bottom line.
Right, okay, let's go to specifics, since you want us to look at the individuals and what they can bring onto the table. Before you came on board, we're talking about, for instance, a very key appointment of the Minister of Youth, who happens to be her predecessor. Now, in charge of the Ministry of Youth. And we're talking about the challenges faced by youths, which is, if you put together this key deliverables, if you like, or key agenda of the president, poverty eradication, providing employment, and so on, affects this demography.
Yes.
What do you think she can do, or what should be the benchmark? How would she approach these issues?
Well, I want Nigerians, without necessarily making, by the way, I wish her well, and then I'm not here to make excuses for her, but that platform is limited in its scope.
Yes.
You must understand that whatever ideas you have to convince the Federal Executive Council to approve of it. You have to convince the President. And then if you understand the way governance works, even when your approvals have been gotten, you have to run around to get the money to do it, right? And so within that limited framework of you being one of a cabinet, a part of a cabinet that you have to work within the team, then that's a limitation on its own. That's number one. Then number two, regardless of what you do with that platform, young people are still being affected by security. That's outside of the remit of the Minister for Youth.
Yes.
Young people are affected by decisions taken by, for instance, CBN, for instance, ministers of the economy, coordinating ministers of economic budget planning. So young people are still affected by health and all of those things. And if you look at basically the ballpark of the programs under that Ministry of Youth, you see that for lack of a better word, they are not, you have sports under that, but
not directly.
They are not, let me use the word tokenism, and this is the best way I can, they are merely tokenistic in nature, if you ask me.
Okay.
And within that framework, the minister can thrive, and I'm certain, looking at her pedigree, looking at what I'm expecting from her.
Yeah.
But within that, you must understand that there are limitations. And so, if you ask me, I beat her well, and I encourage her to do her best. But I'm not going to be jumping off the roof with my expectations.
Right. You raise a very fundamental issue, and this seems to be a systemic. Is this a systemic issue? Because it has been there. We have this Ministry of Youth for decades.
Yes.
And we didn't care much to find out what items are even under this ministry beyond sports and what have you. And so how do you think, you talk about her limitation in terms of reaching out to the critical sectors that could affect the youths, for instance, finance, economy, security, and the rest of it. How can she create the synergy, go out of her way, for instance, if there's need, to ensure that the bulk of youth in Nigeria benefit from this policies and programs of government?
Well, you have a collegiate approach to government where you know that despite the fact that you are the nominal head of your ministry, that the success or otherwise of your constituents, the people who you are representing or the people who you've been called to serve, depends on the success of other members of the cabinet. In fact, there are other people who are not even members of the cabinet that have impact on the... So it's a collegiate effort, which means that I expect her to reach out to stakeholders across platforms, right? To mobilize the kind of resources, the kind of broad support she needs to carry out her programs. Then, even with the limited things on her bucket list, that's allotted to the Office of the Ministry of Youth and Sports, even within that limited framework, there is a lot of things you can still clean up. For instance, under the sports sector, I believe that if she's able to drive the kind of bold reforms that we need in that sector, that sports sector is a sector that is able to lift a lot of young people out of poverty. But over time, you see that, especially at the administration side of it, Nigerians have a lot of talents, as you would have seen. But in the administrative side of it, whether you're talking about CAF, whether you're talking about, not CAF, NFF, whether you're talking about basketball, if I look at it, the whole gamut of the sports that we excel at, we have not been that good at administration. Yet again, you will now say that your also role is also limited because some of these people are serving tenured appointments and some of these people are established civil servants. So, given those limitations, you will see that just one person can make a difference. But one person within a system, then...
Yes. Okay. Patience, let me come to you. He said something very important, the need to mobilize, the need to reach out, the need to get the required support. And your group, that is the Women Progressive Forum, is actually there. to perhaps support this objective of getting the minister to succeed, not just the minister, the administration. You have the key deliverables and how you can access them.
Yes.
What role do you think you can play, in terms of mobilization, in terms of helping these women who are started with this responsibility to deliver?
Yes. Okay, so for me, first of all, like I said, that if we have more forums like ours, these are the critical stakeholders we're talking about, critical stakeholder sectors that can work, with the Ministry of Youth. And we keep on forgetting, Dr. Jamila is not the only minister in the Ministry of Youth. We have the Minister of Youth for State, while I think she's the federal minister, right?
Yeah, the sports. And both of them happen to be youth.
They're all youth and they're all young people.
That's right.
And we expect to see that energy, that resilience. Of course, we, like them, they like us, have always been behind our key parts, always questioning the government, holding them accountable and all of that.
Now it's time to act.
Now it's time to act. And I want to call on the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that any minister that hasn't performed well in 6 months shall be sacked, because we expect to see results in 6 months.
At least you should begin to see something.
Let's start seeing something. On a scale of preference, let's see 40%, my brother. Will you agree with me?
Yes,
40%. I agree that we should see 40%. Because if you can't give us results in 40%, that means if given the opportunity for 4 years, you can't do anything.
But Chima is telling us how difficult and how complex.
No, but Chima, we can achieve 40%.
In terms of
yes, within that, there is, because if you see someone who is working, there are parameters, because we know where the bottlenecks, we know where the problems are.
Right.
If you see someone who's, and one of the complaints you got from the previous administration is that lethargy, that laid back,
of course,
that inability to ignite, to shake things up. But we've also seen with this administration, I'm not a fan of the administration, but you've also seen that they have not been shy in replacing people.
Of course.
They have not been that shy. They are just how many months old, but we've seen replacements that suggest to us that, look, there is no permanent seat at the table.
Harmonizations and adjustments.
Yes, there is no permanent seat at the table. So if again they are going to do a merit-based assessment like she's suggesting, then that would be good. The other thing we also...
Well, isn't 6 months,
Given the... again, I don't know why I'm even sounding this fair, because everybody knows that I've been hitting this administration hard. But I like being fair. If you're to be honest, given the terrible mismanagement of Nigeria's economy and security for the past... let's just, for the past administration, successive administration, so that we are not speaking on anyone. Given that, you would see that either of the three leading presidential candidates, either of the three would have had a terrible first year in office.
Yes.
Right? And so this is, any one of them could have had this terrible first year.
Even though the trajectory seems not to be encouraging too. Because if you have a bad situation and it's becoming worse.
Yes.
it takes a deliberate intent. To want to make it work.
Yeah, you're making a point anyway.
So if you have that 1 year, but it's expected, again, you would have seen that there has been several mistakes, several own goals supposedly scored by the administration, and we are just still within that 1 year, giving them time to make their mistakes and also adjust. Look, everybody's learning on the job. Tinubu has not been president before. Even the former ministers who had been ministers before are now meeting new realities on the ground, right? So you have to have some time to settle into the job. No matter how prepared you think you are, you come there, the governor smacks you on the face. And then when you have adjusted to the situation, it's expected. So again, Nigerians are now running out of patience, right? And so within that framework, they know that we are running out of patience. And
6 months is good.
Not our patience. We are not running out of patience. Because patience was making a point. She was actually talking about
the Honorable Minister of Interior, for example, my brother, Honorable Tunji. How will you rate him in just how many days in office? When he came on board, we had issues with this passport issues. You go there to get your passport, it takes you months and months with no communication. When he came on board, he proved to us that it is doable. All you need in place is people with a passion for the job, my brother. And you need to be hard.
If I understand patience, there are specific targets. There are things you can do. Not long term. Very short term decisions.
Look at the Honorable Minister of Education. When he came in already, you can start seeing he's putting in place his committees to do this, committees to do that, and all of that. And this is what I want to see.
And Chima was actually talking about liturgy earlier on. There is no need. There is no point carrying over such lethargy, making things,
we don't need it.
Slowing things, and you need to be active.
We need to be active.
No, the presidency is actually running on a borrowed time. That's an important point, because as you would see, no nation can have the indices we have now without stuttering so much to bring. And so what they have to risk to is
stabilizing the situation,
to pull Nigeria back from the brinks. And then if you don't do it within the time, you would have a whole lot of situation on your hands. And that's why I think that we also have to encourage the president, because from that office, you have the office of the president, then you have the National
Assembly.
Yes, but from what we are seeing, apart from the appointments, which you've seen the way it's going, you would also want to see that the general attitude of the government does not seem to suggest that they understand the gravity of the situation, especially as it relates to economy. Especially as it relates to economy. I am now gratified that the new CBN leadership has, de-restricted the 43 items, but we are yet to see that kind of...
Isn't that also hasty and confusing? Because some say, when you come up with such decisions, haphazard, so to speak, or, trying to get out of the situation without necessarily looking at also the impact.
Yes.
No, you talk about subsidy, I think there were a lot of things that were not put in place. But if you talk about the 43 items, because I have a little background in this, you know that why did they place those 43 items on the list? It was placed because they wanted to achieve or pursue an import substitution policy. And we said, you want to substitute the importation of, say, these 43 commodities. It is good, but the tools you are using to achieve that objective is wrong. It's punitive. If you wanted to achieve that import substitution, you have other tools you can use, for instance, tariffs. You can use tariffs as against restricting forex. And then when you have restricted forex, you are now doing controlled experimentation with your forex. And that controlled experimentation means that if you now want forex, you have to justify why you need forex. And within that, you saw a lot of racketeering. And so if you're going to liberalize it a bit, not the full-scale deregulation, then you're beginning to see. But I want to see at the monetary side of the equation, let's give them time, right? But at the, the financial...
How much of time? Because the Naira is on a free fall. We're talking about 1,001 Naira to $1. Okay, patience, now that we are discussing how the deliverables or the key point agenda of the administration impact directly on Nigerians. He's talking about the lifting of the ban, on those 43 items. And it happens to be the same APC policies, that restricted those items. And there was a reason. Some would say, part of the reasons were achieved, food sufficiency, empowering the local farmers, and so on and so forth. Now, when we change gear, because we are afraid of certain things, and there's need for us to take some drastic measures, we should also not lose sight to the fact that there is a flip side of it, also the negative side of it, which is discouraging also farmers from going into production. How do you think, as a party now, would moderate or reconcile some of this issue so that you don't lose the gains of the previous decision?
Well, I agree that times are hard. I am an entrepreneur. He is an entrepreneur. Right. I have a restaurant, and I can tell you that on a daily basis.
You are not advertising it.
No, I'm not advertising it. Okay. I'm just telling you what I do.
I'm collected on your behalf.
Sorry about that. I want to tell you how it has impacted my business,
right.
And I'll be very honest with you, on a daily basis I have issues with my customers because when I go to the markets today, tomorrow the prices flip.
That's
and
right.
when I come back, I can't continue, no stability. And this is why we need price control in this country. We can't go to the market today and you have a thing of 1,000 and tomorrow you go back, it's 3,500 Naira. Now, as an entrepreneur who buys and sells on a daily basis, if you go to the market and then, my brother, you're buying something for 3,000 today and you go back tomorrow and you're buying for 5,000, you have to come back and review your price. And now if you're selling it higher than it was yesterday, then you begin to have issues with your customers, right? Yes. As a government, I want the administration to look into policies that deals with our economy.
That's right.
Yes, they made a very terrible you know, they made the country in a very terrible state. And you will agree with me that for you to get it right, lots of people will have to go through pain, agony,
some drastic
decision. Like when he came on board and he said, on the first day of the job, he said, fuel subsidy is gone. Everybody was like, what? Before you knew, the queues and everything was just piling up and everything. But I was asking, where is this fuel subsidy even going to? And they said they have saved about, is it 1 or 3 or 2 trillion in 3 months? You know, where is the money? Nigerians need to know. We have saved money from subsidy. This is where it is. And where is it going to? Yes. No, that is what I'm saying, right?
Okay.
We need
Chima,
to start holding our leaders accountable.
That's right. Chima, looking at
I know
this.
Chima wants to talk about that so badly.
Chima, looking at the challenge before us as a nation and the dream, if you like, of the Tinubu administration to pull the country from the brinks, you know, just like you said earlier, how do you think we can achieve this Nigerian dream, especially looking at the unveiled 8-point agenda of the president?
Well, he has met a terrible situation.
Yes.
He has capacity to make it even worse. He also has capacity and an incredible opportunity to at least make impact.
Yes.
And when I look at Tinubu as a person, I see the length of time it took him to get to where he is and the processes. It would indeed be a waste of opportunity, governance opportunity, and a waste of a lifetime if he had done all this to get here and then got here and then mess up.
Yes.
Because if you looked at the man, remember he has a long history. From 1993, when he contested, I think he wanted to be the Senate President of Nigeria. And because of considerations then he couldn't be. But he plotted his way back, became governor, plotted his way back, became a regional party chief, made a 2015 merger, and then ultimately he's here. If he's now here and he has a policy, and for any reason that policy fails,
let's look at the policy. You know, for instance, we're talking about food security, which is fundamental. You know, without food, there is always problem.
Yes,
hunger, security, you know, and all insecurity and all of that is stem out of hunger and starvation. So, to eradicate poverty, or to guarantee food security, requires a lot of work.
Yes.
Right now we're battling with insecurity, which has pushed farmers out of the farmlands. We're battling with also ecological issues, flooding and what have you.
Yes.
Climate change and the rest of it. How do you think we can guarantee this food security in the face of these challenges?
Well, the thing is this, that you have to look at it differently from the previous, because I liked that the previous administration wanted to guarantee food security. But again, what you hope to achieve and the tools with which you want to achieve that, they are two different things. For instance, Buhari's presidency looked at food security with a limited understanding of food security. First of all, you ask yourself, why do farmers in Thailand produce rice at a comparatively cheaper price, including the cost of transportation down here, compared to the farmers, say, in Nigeria, in KB, for instance? Well, what's the difference? So the farmer in Thailand gets his FX rate, gets his money at a single-digit interest. The farmer in KB does not get it. Stable electricity, we don't have it.
The enabling environment.
So
we don't have it.
Now, if you don't provide those things, for instance, let's use rice as a stable commodity, which is now as an instance to cover the rest. So on rice alone, you have what is the transport logistics between the farmland and the processing zone, and then from the processing
zone,
how secure is the road good? So you don't want to talk about the infrastructure, you don't want to talk about security, you don't want to talk about mechanization, you don't want to talk about electricity, but you want to achieve with unilateral ban self-sufficiency in rice. So you have to do away with that kind of draconian thinking to start looking at, if we are dealing with 8 commodities or 8 items, what are the 8 items Nigerians can produce? Rice, yam, millet, look at the 8 and then look at how can we deepen the value chain, and what can we do?
What support can we
give? And then it has to go beyond the mere tokenistic giving out loan to farmers. You have to look at the whole system. And if you're going to look at that and do that, I believe it's doable with time. Right? So that's the change in thinking is the first thing I want to achieve, because if you don't achieve that, you may have a situation where you have people who think that they can ban their way into sufficiency. You can't.
Okay, it's not a day job. It's not something that you just get
ban your way into self-sufficiency.
Patience. Let me take one that is very very key. You talked about being an entrepreneur, earlier on. And one of the key items there is job creation, which is very, very important. Without, the rate of unemployment in the country is alarming.
It's alarming.
And we're looking at how we can engage youths, demography anyway.
Yes.
I don't know if she might see youths. How do you think we can create job opportunities in the face of power outages, in the face of lack of incentives, in the face of, and all of this, no credit, system and all of that. How do we achieve that?
Now, entrepreneurs, you have to give it to entrepreneurs in Nigeria, because we have taken lots and lots of, jobless, sorry to use that word, but of course we don't have jobs, so that means we don't have a job.
Yes.
So we have taken out, youths, vibrant youths with potentials, people who, we have tried so hard to eradicate the Japa syndrome, in some of our employees, mindset. But we need an enabling environment.
Yeah.
Like I said, things are quite difficult at the moment, and businesses, especially small-scale businesses, are not thriving. Now, if you have empowered that young woman who every evening comes out to sell her akara,
and young man,
and young thank you, Chiba.
Gender sensitive.
Okay, I should be gender sensitive, I apologize. If we are able to create that enabling environment, number one, and make funding, accessible
credit
for
schemes,
their credit scheme, not you giving my friends, my family, and I. Take it out to the real Nigerians.
Single-digit credit schemes.
No, I don't believe in all of that.
have.
Before he came in, I was telling you something. I said, I don't believe in giving me a fish.
Yes.
I believe in teaching me how to catch the fish.
That's right.
So creating an enabling environment where businesses can thrive, not just that, give out necessary incentives, such as, grants and all of that, directly for, the entrepreneurs who have business ideas and brains to implement one or two businesses, employing, our fellow Nigerians on the street, men and women. I am sure we are creating job opportunity. You can be
even the agricultural sector we are talking about.
Even the agricultural sector.
Massive production of
exactly.
food
I'm
items
assuming
alone.
we have so many, industries. You have for rice, you have for maize, you have for beans, you have for this, all of it in place. Do you know how many
people? We have
people?
the vast arable land, we have the teeming youth
who
have the energy, as you said earlier.
The energy, the vibration,
the enabling environment, the
that
empowerment.
can be on site from morning till evening.
Yeah, the tractorization, mechanization.
So all we need is people who come on board with such ideas. We are not just coming to do the talking. We are coming in to implement things that are going to be doable and workable. And in that way, you are employing these youths down the street. Everybody cannot have a white-collar job.
Right. Beyond the tokenism, I'll give you the 1 minute, the last 1 minute to tell us. How do we practicalize all of this?
Well, the good thing is that, for instance, the way I look at job creation is to democratize trust. There's a huge disparity in gap between those who have ideas and those who can fund those ideas. And one of the contributing factors to that disparity or that distrust in the system is that when you don't have a rule of law, for instance, then I can't trust you to go into partnership with you. Maybe I have an idea and you have millions sitting in your bank account that you can fund my idea.
I hope so. I hope I have some millions.
Well, we can talk after the program.
we can check.
We can check. But you see, the thing is this, that when we are discussing, you don't trust that if there is any dispute that arises, you don't trust that there is a system that can take care of that.
Yes.
I am afraid of sharing my idea with you because I don't trust the court system.
That's right.
You are afraid of giving me resources because you don't, the identity system is difficult. You don't know where you can get me. You don't even know whether the system will, so if you...
So how do you strike a balance?
You have to
create trust.
Create trust, democratize it, because the government can do as much as it could, but all you have to do is to step out of the way and allow integration, allow people with the resources and the means to fund people who have the energy and the drive. But if the people with the resources destroy the people with the energy and the drive, and the people with the energy, then that chasm is there. Then that means that the rich will keep,
getting richer,
and then their investment appetite is in buying bonds, buying this, but they don't invest in the real sector. And until you incentivize those with resources to invest in the real sector, then you can't create jobs.
Oh, thank you very much, gentlemen. I thought we could go on and on, but time is really not on our side. But I appreciate your perspectives. Patience Kwache, President, Progressive Young Women Forum. Thank
Don't
you
worry, we
very
also
much.
have a
Acting
progressive
President.
young men forum.
Okay, perhaps Chima could aspire for that.
Chima, I'll give you a role.
Chima Christian is a good governance advocate. Together we'll be looking at the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration, its direction towards appointment, especially of the youth and women demography, and of course how its development agenda, that is the 8-point agenda, could help realize the Nigerian dream. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us.
Gentlemen and women, for talking to us.
Thank you.
On behalf of the guests and viewers, that's a wrap on today's package. We sincerely hope you found the conversation engaging and informative. And be sure to join us on Daily Politics Live, airing every weekday, and also on special package on Friday, during which we open our telephone line for your comment on national issues. Once again, we thank you for watching. I am Shafiu Suleiman.